Hey everybody, this is David here, aka Chessman. Here today. There was something called Clutch Chess that happened today. And basically, I want to cover the games. It's called Clutch Chess Champion Showdown, and here's what it is. It's a double round robin. There's $412,000 on the line. Um, the time format for the games is 10 minutes and 5 seconds. The players involved are Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, and Gukesh Damarajaro. Damaraju. I always mess up his name. Um, like I said, a double round robin with the time control of 10 and 5. Today was the first round. Was the first. There was 6 rounds, I believe, or basically 3 rounds of each round is 2 games. So, but I really there's 6 rounds. So let's take a look at the games. In the first game, we got Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces versus Hikaru Nakamura. Fabiano got a 94.3% accuracy, while Hikaru got an 86.5% accuracy. I only seen one mistake in the game, but let's see what happened. Got a Sicilian defense. We got the hyper accelerated dragon. See, bishop a6 was a mistake, and it was a pretty big one. If white plays queen c5, then white will have a big advantage. And he does. Queens come off the board. And they still have the same amount of material. Now white's a pawn up. And that's it. Looks like white's going to promote one of his pawns. And that's the end of the game. That was a win for Fabiano Caruana. And with that, I believe there's bonus money involved. So because Fabiano Caruana won the game, he gets an additional $1,000. The second game in round one was played by Gukesh with the white pieces versus Magnus with the black pieces, and they both got a 91% accuracy. And I do see some blunders towards the end. Let's see what happened. We get a perk defense, and it turns into a Philidor. Says bishop b4 was a mistake. It looks like it was just a little inaccuracy. It only gives white about a 0.7 advantage. And white does not play the right move. So queen takes h3 was a mistake. Again, well, this gives white almost a point advantage if he plays queen to d1. And he does not. And this brings the game back to zeros. Rook d1 was a big mistake. This gives black about a 4.5 point advantage if he plays knight to h4. And he does not. But it looks like white, Magnus Carlsen won anyways. I saw this during when it was played, and Gukesh had lost on time. So Magnus got the win, and he got $1,000. So Magnus and Fabiano Caruana both have a point. Round 2. Now they reverse colors. Hikaru Nakamura now has the white pieces versus Fabiano Caruana with the black pieces. Hikaru got an 87.2 accuracy in this game, while Fabiano only got an 81.5 accuracy. And I do see a bunch of mistakes. Let's see what happened. Get a King's Indian defense. Says 95 is a mistake. And this gives white almost a pawn advantage if he plays bishop e2. And he does. Says bishop e3 was a mistake. And this brings the advantage down to only about half a pawn if black plays h5. And he does. Says knight f6 was a mistake. This gives white over a point advantage if he plays bishop to b6. And he does. Queen d7 was also a mistake. This gives white over a 2-point advantage if he plays rook f to e1. And he instead plays rook a to e1. But the advantage is still about a 1.75. So still a significant advantage. Says g3 was a mistake. And this loses just about the whole advantage. So if black either plays c3 or bishop to f3. And he plays bishop to f3. Says queen to f6 was a mistake. And this gives a slight advantage to black if he plays knight h5. And he does. Says f5 was a mistake. This gives black a 1.25 advantage if he plays bishop takes f1. And he misses that opportunity. So now white has almost a pawn advantage. Says bishop takes f1 was a mistake. This gives white almost about a 1.5 advantage if he plays knight c6. And he does. Says queen f4 was a missed opportunity. And the advantage is about a point and a quarter. Uh, if black either plays rook e5 or b4, and he plays rook e5. Says queen h4 was a mistake. This drops the advantage to about a pawn, or actually about half a pawn, if black plays knight h7. And he does not. Instead, he plays queen to c5 check, which gives white almost a 2-point advantage if he plays king to g2. And he does. And white wins. Looks like it's made on the board, or soon to be, or a loss of a queen. Yeah. So good win for Hikaru. He evens up the score. Now he has a point at 1 out of 2, just as Fabiano. And Hikaru got $1,000 for this game. In the second game, we got Magnus Carlsen versus Gukesh. Magnus and Gukesh both got 99.4 accuracy. So I'm guessing there's going to be no mistakes. Looks like it's just going to be a clean draw. Let's see what happened. Get a Queen's Gambit declined. And looks like they agreed to a draw. And I believe this gives Magnus Carlsen the lead in the match. He's the only one with a point and a half out of 2. And Gukesh is in last place now with only a half a point. In round 3, we now have Magnus with the white pieces versus Fabiano with the black pieces. Magnus got a 92.9% accuracy, while Fabiano got a 93.1 accuracy. I do see a couple mistakes here and there. Let's see what happened. Start with a ready opening. Turns into a King's Indian defense. H3 appears to be a mistake. This gives black a slight advantage. This knight c3 was a mistake. This gives black almost a 3-point advantage if he plays queen takes f2 or g takes f2. And he plays the second option, g takes f2. Says queen to g4 was a mistake. This loses about half the advantage, Black's only up now by about a point and a half. So queen b6 was a mistake. Now black has over a point advantage if he plays queen takes b6, and he does. Says g4 is a mistake. This loses the advantage, and it's an even game now if black plays knight to e2, which he does. And they agree to a draw, or there's not enough material. There's not enough material for a mate on the board, so it's a draw. And I believe Magnus is still in the lead in the match with 2 out of 3, but we'll see what happened in the other game. I've already forgotten which one I was on. Let's see. This is Magnus versus Fabiano. Doesn't say what round. All right, Magnus versus... Oh, out of 3, so we're in the 3rd round, I believe. Yeah, 3rd round. In the 3rd round, the other game was Hikaru versus Gukesh. Hikaru with the white pieces, and he got an 87.1 accuracy, while Gukesh got a 93.9 accuracy. Doesn't seem that Hikaru's accuracy has been too high in this match so far. I do see some mistakes. Let's see what happened. Get a Nimzo Indian defense. Says bishop to b5 was a mistake. This gives black almost a point and a half advantage if he plays e4. And he does not. It's a missed opportunity. So the game's about even. This bishop takes c6 was a mistake. This gives black about a half point advantage. Says queen d2 was a mistake. This gives black almost a point and a quarter advantage if he plays rook a6. And he does not. His advantage is roughly about a point. Says this was a mistake. This brings black's advantage down to about half a point if white plays rook takes c4. And he does not. So black's advantage is about 3/4 of a point. This 92 is a mistake. This gives black about a point and a half advantage if he plays king h7 or queen b5. Plays king h7, great move. This rook a to c1 was a mistake. This gives black almost a 2-point advantage if he plays queen to a6 or rook to a6. He plays queen to a6. And Gukesh wins this one. And so far, I think this is Gukesh's first win of the match. And Hikaru only has 1 out of 3. Let's see what happens in round 4. In round 4, we got Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces versus Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. Fabiano's accuracy was 82.2%, while Magnus's was 84.4%. I do see a few mistakes in this game, at least in the latter half. Let's see what happened. Get an Italian game. Says King H7 was a mistake. This gives White almost a point advantage if he plays H4, and he does. Knight C4 was a mistake. This again gives Black. This gives White almost a point advantage, and that's if Black plays Queen D7 or Rook F1. Said he plays a big blunder, G3. This gives White a over 2 point advantage if he plays Rook to take G3, and he does. This Queen C2 was a missed opportunity, and this brings the game down to even. Let's see, looks like F3 was a major move, and this would have given White a clear win with a 5 point advantage. Looks like Queen D7 was a missed opportunity. This gives White again about a 4.5 point advantage if he plays Knight G3, and he does. Says Knight takes E5 was a missed opportunity. This brings the advantage down to almost to 0. If Black plays Queen F4 or Queen takes H4 check, he plays Queen takes H4 check. Get Knight F4, which is a missed opportunity. This gives White about a half point advantage if he plays Knight E3, and he does. This was an inaccuracy. This gives White a 1.125 point advantage if he plays Knight E5, and he does. Says Queen D1 was a mistake, and this brings the advantage down to about about 3/4 of a point if Black plays Queen G7, and he does. Says Knight F3 was a mistake. This gives Black a slight advantage if he plays Knight H3 check, and he does. This Queen H4 was a mistake. This gives Black a 1 3/4 point advantage if he plays Queen A1, which he does. Says G4 was a mistake. This gives Black over 2 point advantage if he plays Knight to D2 or Knight to D6. Instead plays C5, which was a mistake. This drops the advantage all the way down to only about a half point for Black. Says B6 was a mistake. Says it's a big mistake. This gives Black over a 4 point advantage if he plays F5 or F6. And he plays F6. And it looks like Magnus won. With his 3 extra pawns, he's going to win the game. And this gives him a 3 out of 4 point advantage. And he also got an extra $1,000 for this win. And let's go look at round 4. Or was that round 4? In a minute. 3 out of 4. So this is round 4. My mistake again. So the second game in round 4 is Gukesh with the white pieces versus Hikaru with the black pieces. Gukesh got a 95.3 accuracy, while Hikaru got a 95.4 accuracy. And only see a couple mistakes, but otherwise looks like a clean draw. Let's see what happened. Got a King's Indian defense. Says G4 was a mistake. But this just gives black a slight edge if he plays knight c8. And he does not. This gives white almost a point advantage. And after a threefold repetition, they agree to a draw. And I think Hikaru is in last place with 1.5 out of 4. And I think Gukesh is in third with 2 out of 4. Let's take a look at round 5. Round 5, we got Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces versus Gukesh with the black pieces. Fabiano got an 85% accuracy on this game, and Gukesh got a 92.1% accuracy. I do see some mistakes. And let's see what happened. Finally get an English opening. This rook e8 was a mistake. This gives white almost a point advantage if he plays h takes g4. And he does not. Instead he plays... Actually he does, I'm sorry. I thought it said d takes. He did play h takes g4. Says queen d3 was a mistake. This loses most of the advantage, and it's basically a... Well, this actually gives black a slight advantage if he plays queen g6. And he does. c5 was a big blunder. This gives black over 2.5 point advantage if he plays d takes e2. And he does. Queen e6 was a mistake. This drops the advantage down to only a point for white. A point for black. 1.25. If he plays king h2, which he did. Says b3 was a mistake. This drops the advantage down to only less than a point if white plays knight c3, and he does. Says rook c1 was a mistake. This gives black over a 2-point advantage if he plays rook to d3 or a5 or c5, any one of those moves. Plays rook to d3. Says c5 was a mistake. The advantage for white for black is 1 point, a little over 1 point, if white plays queen to e8, and he does. So rook takes b2 is a big blunder, and this gives black a 1.75 advantage, actually more like 2 points, if he plays rook takes e4, which he does, of course. Black's just up a pawn. And Gukesh won. Looks like Gukesh is going to promote and then build a stop White's pawn from queening. Actually, it'll be a nice... yeah, Black's way ahead. So that was a clean win from Gukesh. And that brings him to 3 out of 5. So he won $1,000 for this game. And see, this was round 5, I believe. Yep, round 5, game 1. And game 2, we got Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces versus Hikaru Nakamura with the black pieces. Magnus got an 87.9 accuracy, while Hikaru got an 96.9 accuracy. Wow, looks like a big win for Hikaru. I do see about 3 mistakes. And let's see what happened. Got a Chigorin. This G4 was a mistake. This says it's a mistake, but if black plays queen G6, it's about an even game. Slight advantage for white. Instead he plays queen F7, which still is just a slight advantage for white. This G5 was a mistake. This gives black about a 1.5 advantage if he plays bishop takes E5. And he does not. But this still is an advantage for black, about a 1.25. Bishop takes F6 was a mistake. This gives black over 2.25 advantage if he plays queen takes F6. And he does. And Hikaru won. And this brings Hikaru to 2.5 out of 5, but Magnus is still 3 out of 5. But Hikaru got $1,000 for this game, so congrats for him. And let's take a look at round 6. Round 6, we got Gukesh with the white pieces versus Fabiano Caruana. Gukesh got an 89.3 accuracy, while Fabiano only got a 79.1 accuracy. I think that's the lowest accuracy in the match so far. So I'm guessing there's a few mistakes. Let's take a look. Got a Tartakower. Turned into a King's Indian defense. This Rook 88 was a mistake. This gives black a slight advantage if he plays King H2 or King H1. Instead he plays Rook to A2. And this gives black about a half-point advantage. This F4 was a mistake. And this gives white about a half-point advantage if he plays King H1 or G takes F4. Played G takes F4. This Rook F5 was a mistake. This gives white over a 1.5 advantage if he plays Bishop D3, and he does. This Rook takes D5 was a big blunder. This gives white almost a 4-point advantage if he plays Queen takes F4 or Bishop F6. Plays King H1, which was the third best move. This still gives white about a 3-point advantage. So Gukesh should win this, and Gukesh does. And this brings Gukesh up to 4 out of 6. And Fabiano's only 1.5 out of 6. So Gukesh got $1,000 for this game. And good job. Let's take a look at the last game. Okay, in this game, looks like we got a quick draw. Looks like they had enough during the day, and they wanted a break. We got Hikaru with the white pieces versus Magnus with the black pieces. They got 100% accuracy. And let's take a look at it. Got a Rui Lopez. Oh, the Berlin defense. So, it's well known to be a draw. And they repeated 3 times, so it's a draw. And there was basically nothing that happened in that game, but I guess they're happy with the score. Magnus has 3.5 out of 6. Let's take a look at the standings. Let's see who's winning. Wow. So it looks like overall, it looks like Gukesh is in the lead with 4 points. Wow, who'd have thought? I'm sure we all thought it was either Magnus or probably Fabiano. Fabiano's been on a hot streak lately. But Gukesh has 4 points out of the first day. Magnus is in second with 3.5 points. Hikaru is in third with 3 points. And Fabiano is in last place. Wow, with 1.5 points. Who'd have thought? Actually, they're all pretty strong, so I don't know who we thought. But I definitely didn't think it would be Magnus in last place. And the rest, I don't know. I thought Fabiano was on a hot streak and he would keep producing, but today was not his day. Well, that's all we got today. Tomorrow they're going to have round 2, and I'll be covering that. And if you haven't already, take a look at the rest of my content if you want. I have content about openings and analyzing positions and everything. And if you have anything you want me to cover, any other tournaments you want me to cover, just post in the comments and I'll try to do it. Otherwise than that, I hope you have a great day and see ya.